life. Hopefully some more people also going to join, but if not, don't worry. You're going to have a private session with me then. It's even better. So tell me about yourself, man. Where do you come from? What should I know about you?
So I actually just joined today the community. You
Oh, really?
probably saw that. Yeah. So basically, I'm a computer science student. I was in software development. Then I felt I want to like be more engaged in like the designing process. Why am I coding this software the way it should be like coded? So I started like looking into UX and all that. And I started pretty much like my portfolio and like the projects around 3 months ago. And I was trying to get an internship for this semester, like the one starting in the fall, but I pretty much failed. So I was like, I'm
Oh my God,
like
no.
researching, like, what am I doing wrong? And I stumbled upon your content and I found out your school. So
All
yeah, I
right.
just joined and yeah, still like discovering what's going on.
All right, that's cool. Maybe if you can shoot me your portfolio, I can quickly give you a feedback on it. I guess that would be
Yeah,
useful. Because
like
normally,
on the school chat.
yeah, maybe in this
Oh, there's
Google.
a chat here, right? Let
Oh
me
yeah,
see.
Google Meets is a little bit weird sometimes. If you can drop it here.
Yeah,
And where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Egypt, but I'm currently in Canada.
Right. Okay. I don't honestly understand how the Instagram algorithm work.
Hmm.
Um, but like I have a lot of people from Canada, which is kind of weird for me because I just don't understand why my content would be more interesting for Canadian people than for any other nation or whatever. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Do you mind if I share the screen? Maybe I can
Yeah.
go through it live.
Like, thing is, went, I kind of like, I don't want to say I rushed it really, but I did it like quickly because I was
Mhm.
really hoping to like try and get an internship. So I wouldn't say I'm 100% satisfied with the projects, but I put some work in. I'm like, yeah.
Okay, well, the thing is that first of all, you're never going to be 100% satisfied with your work, so don't worry about that. And also, if do you have like any short deadline on like finding a job or finding like an internship or anything like this, or are you more like sort of free and you still have some time, or you have
So
any pressure?
ideally, I just wanted to get like like a so my degree, I'm doing this thing called a co-op degree, like computer science degree, but with a
Hmm.
co-op option, which is
Hmm.
basically you try and get 16 months of internships. Doesn't matter if it's like different places for like on sections of 4 months or like the whole 16 in the same place, doesn't really matter. But when I do
Hmm.
that, it just like adds this title to the degree, which I don't really care about. I just care about like 16 months experience before I graduate because it's really gonna help
Hmm.
after. So like it's not really a deadline, but I was trying to get one for this September, but
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
didn't, and we're pretty close. So I guess if I can for this semester, my next goal would be the one after, which starts in January. Because after I
Hmm.
graduate, I can do like the co-ops after I'm done with all of my courses, and I will be done with all of my courses in the next 2 semesters.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, that's already like a good thing because hey Odun, nice to meet you as well. We are already really deep dive into one portfolio review real quickly. Um, yeah, so my feeling so far, first of all, it's a good thing that you don't have like a deadline that's already like can be a relief. Also, on the other hand, usually I generally advise for people give themselves like a hard deadline because people sometimes they tend to procrastinate a lot on their work, which is not a good thing. um, oh, you have a Figma prototype here as well. What did
Mm.
you use to create the portfolio itself?
It's code. It's like React,
All right, okay.
but it's
Wow.
it's becoming like a real trouble to like edit stuff. So I'm thinking of like transferring to Framer.
Mm-hmm. The thing
Yeah.
is that I believe I don't know how good of a coder you are. I suppose that if you could manage like a website like this, you already have a good amount of knowledge. But on the other hand, if you want to change anything, any layout, add any whatever image, I think it would take more time for you, rather if you are using a website builder like Framer, for example, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because like I've had like some help from a friend too, so I didn't do it like 100% just me. So yeah.
No, actually, the structure is not all that bad. Oh, one more people.
The structure is not different.
No, it's not all that bad. So there is definitely, I can sense this pretty much like, hello, Julia or Julia or Julia, depends on where you're coming from. So basically, the structure itself, like basically the different sections after another, you are definitely on the right path. On the other hand, I can definitely feel that you are like a beginner designer. It's not really refined. And also I feel like basically everything is just too basic, like too simplistic. And this maybe comes by the fact that you try to code it for yourself. So probably if you're using like a website builder and you already have something like pre-designed and you have more time to think about and more space to experiment with designs and with different layouts, for example, for your case study, I think that definitely can be a helpful thing when you are structuring your case study, because as I said, basically the sections one another, like basically the process of the project which you done is nice, but I would say the sort of look and feel is not there where I would be happy to hire you even for a junior position. With that said, it does not mean that you won't ever be hired, but there is definitely a little bit more expectation from companies these days
Right.
than what I can see here. What I wanted to say, I don't know, I forget. All right. And how long have you been designing in general?
Oh, like 3 months.
All right. Okay. Well, don't really expect too much from this whole process, because, yeah, creating a portfolio and like a case study in itself can be a tedious experience. It's for everyone basically, but also like just learning to design in the first place is more important, because basically what you have to understand about the case study and like basically a portfolio which you have here is also just as much as a design job as like any, I don't know, just planning out your application as well. And it's important to make it like visually appealing, modern looking, modern feel and looking. What I usually say for people, I'm really sure if you already heard about Framer, just go to Framer template. Guys, other guys from the call, I can also highly recommend you this tactic, which is just basically like looking for other inspirations from basically already like world-winning designs. This is also what I would do and what I'm doing as well. So if you just go to Framer, go to the portfolio section for the templates, basically you're already going to have like a lot of pre-built stuff which you can use for free. I'm not recommending to use any of these because probably some of them will be a little bit more complicated, and also not every of these are for like a portfolio piece. Education, entertainment, health, membership. Yeah, portfolio. We are in the portfolio section. So probably if you go through them, you're going to find some which is like pretty much not looking like a UX case study, but some maybe going to look like one. In a later modules, which I don't have uploaded just yet, I will collect the best templates which I think can be used for beginner designers, and you can use them. But the cool thing about Framer is that if you have any design which you like, let's say I like this one, it's one thing that I can also like preview it as just I want. But the other thing is that I can already like start working on it. If I enjoy using it, I can use it for free. I won't log in and I won't start working on it just now. But if I wanted to, I could start working on it for free. And even with like a free Framer domain, you can already like start applying for jobs. So I think this is one of the best ways of like starting out your portfolios, to like find something which you like. Obviously, this technique requires you to already have some previous work, because, for example, you, Ali, I can see that you already have like 2 pieces of work, which is a good start. But first of all, I can already see that your design skills are not really there at the moment. So in your case, I would be if you want to really become a designer in the future, I would place more emphasis on like basically the design work itself first, and then thinking about the case study and the portfolio. Because this way, no matter how good portfolio templates or maybe how good portfolio you can build, no one is really going to choose you over someone who has more like design understandings at the moment. So I'm saying it with all my good will. This is what I can see on the market right now. So yeah, but definitely the structure I like a lot. Like basically how you're laying out the overview and the challenges, the scope and stuff. So already I'm not going to dive really deep into the copy right now, but you are definitely on the good path. You just need to practice a little bit more. This is my recommendation for now.
Do you have any suggestions? Because like
Yeah.
it's really hard to pick a project and like to start one on my own, and it's like the end goal of it is always like kind of unclear because you just like pick this random topic and like start designing for it. So, any recommendations? How can I get projects to like work on?
I think for now, if you guys are beginner designers and you still like just learning design, I think it's a better step to just go to mobin.com or mobin.com, sorry, where basically like high-end phone applications has all their pages laid out. And it's much better to just, you know, sort of, this is the level, obviously, which we are going for. And if you are, I don't, yeah, it's supposed to have like a free plan as well. So basically on Mobin, you can find these applications, whole flows, like different user journeys, like login journey or registration journey or settings or whatever checkout journey for these high-end applications. And I would rather advise to like come here, join in. Maybe I can just do it right now. Let's see what happens. And then hopefully you're not spamming. What's your role? I'm a designer, I suppose. UX research. Okay, so basically, for example, here's Revolt. I don't know what fluid that would be. But if you just download, actually, you can just take maybe a screenshot from your own phone applications as well. You can just upload it to Figma. I don't know what happens if I click on copy. Let's try this one. Oh yeah, it works. Okay, so basically what I would do, I would try to recreate it as much as possible, like basically doing exactly what I can see here. And at the moment, I wouldn't really care about if I'm doing the layers really well, if the icons exactly what I can see here, but just focusing on like sort of creating exactly what I can see here. And doing it enough times, you're going to have like sort of like a sense of feeling of like how design works just in general, and keep doing that for like quite a good amount of time until you are not sort of understand like how design works, because like without the proper design knowledge, no one really is going to hire you guys. So that's why it's important that your design skills are in place, and you can sort of like see the process here. I'm not really worried about now for like, am I exactly like pixel perfect or not? You just try to recreate it as much as possible. And basically this way you are already like lifting out the pressure of like, first of all, what to work on. You are already like designing what like high-end, really professional designers has been made. And this way you can practice really easily. I think that's already a good start. You don't have to work too fast like I'm doing right now. Not really paying close attention to anything which I'm doing, but basically you can see the process. Like when I started out in designing, I was doing it for like a lot of favorite applications of mine, and it was really awesome and I really enjoyed it. And also it gives you like a really good feeling after you finish a few of these screens. You sort of feel like that you can create like something really awesome and something professional, and this also going to give you more sort of confidence in terms of like your design skills, because now you don't have any sort of feedback, like whenever you are working on something, you just don't know what you're working on is good or not, right? But if you are creating something which you know that is like, a high level something, like it's a professional work, professional design, you already know that you are definitely in the good path. Probably this Revolut page is not the best example which I can give you, maybe starting off with a more simple one. But like that would be the process and the approach which I would take, is like find applications which I enjoy anyways, which I'm using. Like, for example, this Duolingo, I don't know how I would recreate them, but something more easily, like for example, this one from Monzo. And if you are doing this, like let's say you are saving like 3 of these images, you go into Figma, you're trying to recreate it as best as possible. And it's also like a good exercise, like how the hell are you going to recreate this background image here? Like, what the hell? But you have to find solutions for this. And now maybe you are thinking that I don't know yet. Me personally, I don't know either, but probably if you try enough times, you're going to find a way to do so. So yeah, this would be a good starting point. And after you are more comfortable around like Figma, how to do the auto layout, how to do different styles, how to handle different layers in here, then that's the point when you can start thinking about creating like sort of like a study project. But learning to design is, I believe, it comes before creating like a whole project. But basically, Ali, your approach for the project is already good. I suppose it comes from your developer background. You're already like ahead of other people who might not understand really well how sort of like what is the design process. So for you, it's like an advantage over other people. What else I wanted to say? Oh yeah, and basically just finding like more ideas on like not even that. Like finding more ideas on like how to find basically project ideas for you. Let's say this is ChatGPT. I'm looking for creating a project. Give me 3 easy and steps on how to execute. So basically, ChatGPT is pretty awesome and can do a lot of things. And already, like if I have something which I like, you can still iterate on the ideas which it gives to you. It's pretty much fine as well. For example, if I was creating like an application project, I'm not really into to-do applications. I probably would look for something else, definitely. Weather app is definitely a no-go. It's really, really too generic. Okay, give me something more ideas which be used in real life. Okay, I guess we are not making the point here. It keeps giving me the to-do stuff. No worries. But you see the point. So basically, you can like probably, since I know that, for example, most companies are like hiring designers for like SaaS products, I would ask him to like give me an idea. SaaS dashboard tool. So now it's going to app idea. Okay, whatever dashboard tool it gives me. And it also gives me like features already. And this way, maybe I can also, what I would do in your situation, since I have ChatGPT, I would literally tell him to like act as like, I don't know, like a manager or something, like a stakeholder in a company, and give me like a realistic task on what to do. And this way, if you get like sort of more like a realistic project rather than just a recipe finder app or a better app, don't work on it, because it's like not really realistic. And basically, if you just go to Dribbble or Behance, you're going to find hundreds and thousands of weather apps. No one cares about them. But if you find like a project idea which is more like sort of like more realistic, I would say, and you can make like a whole case study out of like a realistic project idea, then it's already something which an employee or like a manager going to look at in your case study, and they're going to able to think about how your skills could be applied for their companies. But if you have like really silly like a weather app or like a to-do app, obviously the execution and the design part and the design processes are the same for both of the applications, but the last one, like let's say like a SaaS dashboard application, is much more realistic and much more something which an employee like more like wants to see rather than just to-do application. So yeah, this would be the process. These things which I'm showing to you guys, I'm going to lay out in the later modules. I'm just honestly like too lazy to sit down and write it out. But at some point they will come. But now you're lucky, guys, that you're here. I don't know. Was it any helpful? Does it make any sense, guys?
It does.
Yeah. Odun and Julia, if you have any question, I think, or maybe any comment, is the time, because it's more like an open call. Like we don't have any agenda. Hey man, hi. Good to see you here.
Very helpful. Can you hear me?
Pardon? Come again?
I said, can you hear me? It's very helpful, actually.
I can barely hear you. I can quite a bit of understand what you're saying. Your microphone quality is not the best at the moment, but I'm really happy that you're finding any value in it. Do you maybe have any specific question, Odun?
Basically, I said it's very helpful.
Yeah, it's getting better. We are getting there
Yeah.
with the quality. Cool.
Sorry about that.
No, don't worry. Awesome. So yeah, just recapping this whole thing. What I would do if I started out again as a designer, you don't even have to necessarily go to Mobid. Where it is? Mobin, sorry. Like this is a good way because here you can find a lot of like cool application flows. But back in the day, I was literally like just like screenshotting my phone, and then I was sending it to my computer, and then I was literally doing what I just did here in Figma. I was like copying one by one, and you do it like a few times. And if you made it a few times with a few screens, I would say, let's say at least for a month to do that, because then you're going to get really comfortable with Figma. Probably at some point you're going to need to use YouTube and Google to like sort of figure out like how you are able to create these kind of backgrounds, or to figure out where you can get icons, for example. So this way you are learning how to use Figma, and then you can just use ChatGPT. And I think ChatGPT is really cool because you can fine-tune your request really well. It would also work if you just go to like Google, and I believe if you just type project ideas for designers, it also probably works as well. Like a lot of other people has the same problem as you do, guys. But this is not that specific, so that's why I prefer like working with ChatGPT or any other AI tool, because I think it's just really cool that you can literally like fine-tune whatever you're looking for. And it helps you a lot, like project landing page redesign, mobile app wireframes, user persona creation, usability testing. Okay, I think they are giving you a process here, like on what to do. Augmented reality. Okay, so this was literally the first link which I found here. So this is definitely like also a good idea. And I'm really sure if I would just go to YouTube, I would also find designers who are giving me this kind of like ghost projects. 12 ways to generate ideas for yourself, project ideas for UX UI design portfolio. I'm not sure what she would talk about, but I guess she would probably say the same thing, like maybe in this article, to like make a weather app, make a to-do app, make a VR app, whatever. But this way you can find like ideas really easily. Also, like this is literally like Google's suggestion, like landing page, mobile app design, collaborative design tool. So yeah, Google is a good place for that, but still I prefer ChatGPT for that, because it like gives me a much you can already tell him like what are the steps which you can do. You could, if you are lazy to do the research, which I'm not recommending to do, but maybe you can also just ask for like a user persona and like give you like already like a user persona which you think someone would use your application. So ChatGPT is really awesome for that. And then if you're a good enough designer, you can either come to the Framer marketplace, so that you go for the portfolio itself. There is another site which I love a lot. It's called ux.folio, right? Yeah, it is. It's UXfolio. And basically here, the templates which UXfolio gives you is not that amazing, in my opinion. Like in Framer, if you come here, so this one. So in Framer, if you open any of these works, it's like already having a lot of animations on them. It's already a really slick design work. While in UXfolio, it's more like a general UX case study. But the point here is that basically UXfolio is a website curated for like basically beginner and junior designers, where you can generally just upload your work. It's also like a drag and drop building tool. It's also for free as well, so you don't have to pay anything. It's a little bit more like sort of straightforward how to use it. Like, as you can see, like this design is more like kind of basic, but still works definitely. Like if I wouldn't have so much time to spend on designing my case study, I would probably use one of these examples from UXfolio. Is it? Because it's like unit already given. Definitely you have to write the copy for it. That's also like a different question, like how do you write a good copy? Like honestly, I don't think that's a good copy here because no one actually going to read this stuff. Definitely not this stuff. Like I wouldn't recommend using like an image in your case studies ever, especially if it's like fully loaded with text. No one is going to care about it, that's for sure. But just in general, here on UXfolio, you can find like more like sort of like easier case study ideas. And also here, if you log in, you can basically literally just drag and drop your copy and your images. Like for example, this one is like really simplistic, but you can probably do it in like, let's say 1 to 3 days if you already have like your design images and like design copy. But everything is requiring you guys to like finish like a few design project before it. And also like writing the copy, as I said, is like not that easy. You're definitely going to need to spend some time on it. But maybe for writing the copy for your case study, my general idea would be to just sit down and think through like what sort of, first of all, like what were the context of the project, what were the main idea and main problem which you tried to solve with your app idea, and then just walk through the reader on like what was happening, how did you get to the outcome where you get here, basically. So yeah, UXfolio and Framer templates, these are two of my best go-to platforms. There are a lot of other inspiration websites where you can find like other stuff, but I think Framer and UXfolio is like the best because they are really like beginner friendly. Like also even Framer is like, you can literally, if you have like a Figma design already, like a case study, you can just copy it with a plugin and paste it into Framer, and then this way you don't even have to use a template here. Like okay, like for example, this template is definitely not what we are looking for, even though it's a nice design. It's just not the case study which I would look for. So yeah, these are my ideas for building up a good case study. But again, just coming back to the foundations, good design is the foundation for everything. So this is what I would recommend first practicing. And unfortunately, this whole process of like learning basically anything is not coming automatically. So you guys definitely need to spend some time, at least I would say a good like 3 to 6 months on like only practicing design. And it's good you can work on project ideas as well, but focusing more on like how to create good design is more important than figuring out how to create a good case study, because a bad case study with good design going to get you hired, but like a good case study with a bad design in there definitely won't make the cut. So that's why I'm pressuring this idea here.
So just to be clear, when I look for like apps that I like and try to like remake them on Figma, am I focusing more on my ability to use Figma like comfortably and do things quickly and know how to do them, or more like the design aspect of those apps?
I think they can done simultaneously, like at the same time. I think at the beginning, when you don't have that much design knowledge, I think it's good to just focus on like the sheer design aspect of it, like how do you design stuff in Figma. I think that's one thing. And then after you created like a few of these pages, then you're probably going to notice like different patterns. Like for example, here maybe I can actually just measure it. Like I would probably say that, for example, the space, okay, that's a weird spacing here, by the way. So for example, here the spacing is like 17 pixel, here the spacing is 28 pixel. This is not a really good look. But I just was about to say that probably if it's like 28 pixel difference here, I would assume that this difference here is like somewhat like 3 times more than 28. Okay, I cannot really make this point, but my point is that if you keep making designs, you're going to notice like sort of different design patterns, which is basically like going to teach you how to design. Like for example, you're going to notice that whenever you're going to make like one button with an icon in there, the icon never going to be like much bigger than these ones, and it's going to be same all across like hopefully any applications you're going to. Most of the cases, like you're going to have like a one background and like sort of like a smaller icon in there. But for example, this is going to be the same in every design, which I'm saying by that, if you keep making these designs, then you're going to notice like different patterns, and those patterns are basically going to teach you how to design. So for first, like starting out, I wouldn't recommend like think that much about like how you're designing or sort of what are the design patterns. But over time, you're going to learn them either way. Like, for example, when I started out, I remember clearly I was using like way bigger body text than I should have done. And, you know, I needed like a lot of time and practice to like realize that, by the way, in most cases, if you're using like too big body text, it looks really unprofessional. It looks bad. Meanwhile, if you're using like, let's say, I don't know, I would guess it's like 14 pixel and this is like 16 or maybe 18 pixel big. This is sort of general in every application. Like if you are using like a normal paragraph or like a body text as like a 16 pixel and sort of like a caption or like smaller body text as 14 pixel, it's going to be sort of the same all over in any application, because it's just general typography rules, which will be used all over any design basically. And also, if you just go to any website, you're probably going to see this this as well. Let me just find a random website. Maybe I can just demo it for you. Okay, let's see. Type store. Okay. I don't know what this website is going to be. I'm just trying my luck. So I'm guessing that, you know, for example, this text is going to be like sort of like, I don't know, 12 or maybe 14 pixel maximum. Yeah, it's 14 pixel. So, you know, these are like, for example, design patterns which are going to be the same all over across phone applications and across website applications. Usually it's like, let's say the same. Okay, this is a weird website, by the way. But my point is that there are like design principles which are going to stay the same no matter where you are designing. And those are the design principles which you need to focus on when you are starting designing and when you are learning designing. And I believe that the best way of learning is like doing. And that's why I suggest doing this is like more useful than, let's say, reading books on this design principles, or like, I don't know, watching the 100 YouTube video on like how to design. While if you keep doing and keep copying like professional work, I believe it's like more useful because you're actually already like doing basically like professional design work. You're copying from the best. And it's also like a good advice for beginners that copying from the best at the beginning is like, I think it's much better, like a much better approach than, you know, trying to figure out everything by yourself, because it's much harder. Yeah, because until you don't understand how design works, it's really hard to make something good. But if you already understand how to design and you already have a little bit of experience and then you already practice it, how to do it, you know, probably out of the blue, you could create something good as well, which looks good, works good. But yeah, practice is key in this scenario. So going back again, Ali, to your question, I rather suggest like focus on like using Figma, making professional design, and then just sometimes think about like why those designers who created this homepage for Revolut, for example, why do they make these design choices? It's not something which you have to think constantly about, but you know, just sometimes think about it, like why this, like for example, why this no transaction? Like I would, you know, probably if the user is like already spent some money, it would be here, but why these two item, like this customize your home screen and this transaction table is not together, for example? This is something which I could ask, and probably the designer who made this decision could argue with me that it's important for users to make to distinguish the transaction from the, I don't know, whatever that would do, like from the customization options. Or I could, you know, think about like why do I even need the customize your home screen button on the home screen? Like, is it that important for the user to customize the home screen? This is also like a good question to ask. I would assume that this only comes up first time when the user uses it, or maybe the first few times, and probably it's going to disappear because this feature for Revolut, for example, which is a smart finance app, you know, how it looks is not that important. It's somewhat important, but it's not like a key core feature for an application which is about finance. So it's sort of like make your application more personalized, and sort of this way it connects the user more for the application. So for the first few times when you're using it, it probably makes sense to have it here. But I would assume that after you are using it a few times, it's probably going to disappear. And maybe it going to give you like a tooltip or where you can set it. But yeah, so these are the things which I would think about, like maybe a designer, why could have they made this choice? And now, for example, with this customization, I came to the realization that it's important for them to like keep the user, because if the user has more investment in the application, meaning that they maybe choose like a different image from their gallery, or maybe they, you know, spending some time, like 10 minutes on like choosing their favorite color or their favorite, I don't know, whatever background here, they already going to be more invested into this application emotionally because they feel that it is their own. Like, for example, this is like a good exercise of like, you know, questioning basically everything which happens on the screen and just figuring out like why the designer who created it could have made this choice. And this is also like a good practice. I did it back in the days when I was learning more design stuff. Where is mobile? Because I know that, at least in my experience, it was really intimidating to like see professional designs, and I was thinking like, oh my god, I never will be this good designer, and oh my god, how can I make these designs better? But you have to also understand that no design is perfect at all. Like, designing is like always like a never-ending iteration process. And even now you're looking at, I think it's something Coinbase. Here on this application, for example, you can invest into money. And you would think that probably it's perfect, the user flows are really perfect. But if you spend a little bit more time on like thinking about, let's say, why they could have put, I don't know, these buttons on the top instead of on the bottom, I cannot give you a good answer for now. But if I would spend a little bit more time thinking about that, maybe I could come came up with a better concept as well. So these are the things which, you know, when you are designing, you're probably also going to ask yourself, like, why the hell are these buttons on the top? When, for example, buy, send, receive, and add cash, these sound quite important to me. These sound like quite important actions to me. And if these actions are important, why aren't they on the bottom part of the screen? And maybe you're going to realize that why they made these decisions, but maybe you're going to realize that maybe there is like an even better decision. And in most cases, it's going to turn out because the users have like specific needs and specific use cases, and that's why they made certain decisions. But these are things which I think like unintentionally you're going to think about whenever you are designing your stuff. Does it make sense?
It does, yeah. And one last question, like pretty specific to Revolt over there. I would tend to think that the background, like this purple area above with like the graphics, is an image. Like that's the first thing that would pop into my mind. So I would think the only way to mimic that is use the same image. Is that right or wrong?
No, from a standpoint, you can definitely do that. Like if you just go to Google and like, or any like stock graphic design collection, you can definitely find something which is really close to this one. But you can also like recreate it. Like it's also like a good sort of like a practice project to like try to recreate it. And you can think about like, how the hell would you recreate that? I'm not sure how I would recreate that, but probably it would be something like this. Understanding the field. So then you can play around with the different stroke styles. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, I would probably need some more time to like think about this. But this is like, for example, a good exercise on like figuring out how like a background is created. You can also just, if you're really spending too much time on this, you can definitely like find an image. But I think until you haven't tried at least, maybe it's not a good idea, because in most designs, like even the Duolingo example which we've seen, and I told you like I'm not even sure how to design that. There's Duolingo here. Like even this, it's possible to make it in Figma. Like literally, you can just copy it. And design things, and you know, sometimes you're definitely going to be in situations when you have to create some graphical items, like literally piece by piece. And it's not like a optimal situation, because like at least me personally, I don't really like to do this, like creating like graphical stuff personally. But there are definitely situations when we designers are expected to do these kind of things. And you know, this way you can literally like recreate almost anything in Figma.
I've actually always thought that graphics like this would have been created on a different program than like imported here and just used like in the design.
Well, normally it would, but as I said, like in normal situations, hopefully we are not going to be the one who have to create something like this. But I'm just saying that
sometimes you have to.
well, sometimes you have to create it. That's one thing. But the other thing is that it's good if you have the ability of like creating something like this. Obviously, you can see it's like perfect, but you would see how it would work out eventually. You have to have the ability, because I mean, depends on where you're going to work in the future, but probably at some point you have to create some designs like this. And like better designers who actually can design, like actually have like more graphic design understanding, they're probably going to use like Adobe Effects or After Effects or Illustrator most likely, or Photoshop or whatever. In a lot of cases, you can actually just, you know, use an icon or like find an SVG online. That's also like a viable way. But you know, in a lot of cases, not that much cases, but some cases, you're going to need to create this. And it's really good if you can, you know, you just know you're confident that, you know, no matter what situation is coming to you, you can manage it. It already gives you like a sense of confidence whenever you're talking about your design capabilities, that, you know, if you wouldn't find it online, or you wouldn't find an SVG, you can still just, you know, recreate it. And as you can see, it's not taking that long. I mean, I'm not saying it, you know, you can't work on it, but like, it's like kind of like, okay, it's like fine. And that's why I'm saying it's like better to practice this one as well, because it's also something which a designer is expected to do. And, you know, it's nothing like any like black magic or something. It's pretty easy. Obviously, you can do much better than I do here. I think it's kind of funny now. But yeah, my point is that as designers, we're going to be challenged in a lot of scenarios, a lot of situations. And, you know, just even like during an interview, if you can present, like, for example, someone would have told me, like, literally this could happen during an interview situation, that somebody going to ask you this, like, how would you recreate this graphical element? They just want to test your skills for some reason, because maybe you're going to apply for like a more like a UI role rather than like a UX UI role. And in UI, it's more important to like be able to like do this kind of things. And, you know, maybe you have to do something like this on the spot, literally, like I'm doing right now. And, you know, like probably just showing that I managed to create like this already, this like already like a good sort of like sampling of like what I could do if I would have more time and energy and resources. This looks so ugly though. It's fun. So yeah, like it literally can happen that during like an interview situation, somebody going to ask you to like do something like this, because they just want to see, like, first of all, how do you handle like stressful situation? How do you handle something which you are not prepared for? How do you handle something which is sort of like out of your comfort zone and out of your expertise, but you are still somewhat expected to do something like this? So this literally could happen. And in these scenarios, like, for example, if I haven't done something like this previously in my design career, like I did just now, you know, I would be really nervous and anxious at the moment that I cannot show it for you guys. But if you have this understanding, like, for example, this one, like recreating, like, for example, this table, recreating this coin is like pretty easy. Because, like, for example, if you want to recreate this page, I'm really sure you won't find exactly these icons. But these icons are, for example, quite easy to recreate. But you're probably going to have to use sort of like a tactic, or like a way, which I did here with the oval itself. Like, yeah, because normally you would be able to find like pre-made icon sets online. But in this situation, since these icon sets are like really customized, you probably won't find anything like this. So in this situation, it's like good if you know how to handle it. And, you know, it's like a good exercise as well. It's just like, you know, it's also important that you know how to use the pen tool itself, like how to use these kind of things. It's also important, because in some cases you're going to need it as well. And if you know how to use it, that's already like a good exercise. So basically, no matter what you do in Figma, no matter if it's good, bad, or wrong, or really awesome, it's going to help you to be a better designer. And I think at the end of the day, this is the point of this exercise. And you could definitely like find like easier ways to do it, because probably if I would go to Google and I would type like Duolingo icon set, for example, maybe I would find SVGs or like CVGs, which I can just import and probably use it as it is. But this way, I think at least learning and knowing how to do it is like really good exercise. Yeah. Julia, from your side, maybe any questions?
I don't have specific questions, but it was really interesting to listen and to find out something new for myself. Thanks a lot.
All right, that's cool. Awesome. And thank you guys for joining the group, by the way. Actually, I was quite worried that a lot of people would join, because usually I'm having these calls with like only like, let's say, 5 to 10 people maximum. And managing 5 to 10 people is much easier than managing, like, let's say 50 at the same time. So I was quite worried how much people would join, but it's much easier to do it like this. So cool. Yeah, maybe Odun or Ali from your side, guys, any more questions about anything?
So basically, I don't have any question. It's actually nice, like listening to you speak and learning at the same time. And I think I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, by the way, this call is being recorded, so it's going to be also in the group chat, and probably also in the, I might going to also upload it to YouTube. I'm not sure about that yet, but you guys can watch it back. And basically these tactics and sort of these ways of like learning how to design, I'm going to create like different modules about it. It just takes a little bit of time to like sort of find time to like figure out this stuff, figure out these things. But yeah, they will come eventually. So yeah.
Actually, one last question, if you don't mind.
No, feel free.
What is like, how do I know I'm ready to like work on a whole project, something to add to a portfolio? Like, is there like a quantifiable measure of like, I don't know, how many screens I've remade or something, like how many hours I've put into it?
Well, unfortunately, it's, yeah, design is a tricky topic because it's, it's always subjective. Like, like for example, this Duolingo screen or this Coinbase screen has been made like by designers who are like really talented and working in the design industry for a really long time. But some people are going to say that they don't like the icon set which they use, they don't like the layout which they have, they think that the typography is not good enough, or they just cannot read the typography because it's too small. So it's always somewhat subjective. But generally we can say, like, whenever, I mean, at least if I would see like a design, I can decide if it's like a good enough design or not a good enough design. And this is something which also, if you do this exercise, you're somewhat going to have a feel for it. Like, as I give you this example, that when I was designing for the first time, I always had like my typography really big, and I never noticed it, like literally never noticed it. But over like designing, as I send it for more people, like a lot of people pointed out that, for example, my typography in the navigation menu is too big. And after a while, I started to use like smaller typography here, and I realized that it actually looks better with smaller typography. So I would think just by practicing and getting better at it, I cannot really give you like a quantifiable end result, because some people just generally better at designing. For example, probably you, Ali, you're going to much better on like the UX side, the strategizing part, to like sort of the execution part, where you have to, like, for example, give like a roadmap or like a figuring out the features, because you have like a different background. So it's different for everyone. But I would say that if you're practicing for a few months at least, maybe not even daily, but at least weekly, first of all, you're going to improve a lot by that. And also, just if you can send your designs from time to time to like the group, that's also good. Or you can send it to me. I can also give you some feedback on it, like what to improve on the design side. So yeah, it's something which, that's why I'm suggesting to like sort of mimic like professional other applications, because these are like already has been sort of like tested. Like, these applications are already in the market and used by millions of people, or maybe a few hundreds of people. If you can do something like this, we can confidently say that you made something which already fits on the market, which is already something good. And if you keep practicing it, as I said, you're going to notice the patterns, and hopefully by at some point when you're going to start working on your own project, you can incorporate the studyings and learnings which you are had here in this section, or when you were doing it. So yeah, probably you will never really ready to like create a new portfolio work. So it's already like a really good thing that you already tried it. It's really awesome, and you already did it. I don't know. Just keep designing and send it to me. I will tell you if it's good enough or not.
Okay.
Yeah, and also it depends on like how much time do you spend on it. Because, for example, I learned designing within like, let's say, I would say until I got to a good point, it was like a year or so, or maybe I can show you guys some design of mine, which I did like when I was like already designing for a year, but they were still like really bad, to be honest. And you know, even today, like whenever okay, so I'm not gonna manage. Never mind. It's a different day. But the point is that even today, I make some like bad designs. Sometimes even without any effort, I'm making good designs. So it's always going up and down. But just generally practicing is a good advice. And if you feel like that, I'm kind of satisfied with what I was doing here, I think that's already like a good indication of like you are on the right path. But just try to be critical with yourself and try to always ask like, what I'm doing is looking good. Like if I'm putting it to like next to a different application from the same niche or from the same app category, like which do you think is better? Or am I at least on the same level as this other application? Because like if we go back to your examples here. Okay, so this is like sort of like a finance application or whatever it would be. Or like what is this about? Intro UX feature hyperprototype results.
It's basically similar to Stripe.
Yeah, okay, all right.
No Stripe, yeah.
So it's like a payment application. And you know, if
Yeah.
now if I'm going back to Mobit, obviously it's not fair to like compare your designs to like professional other design. But this is what I think is like one of the easiest ways of like getting better in designing, and that's why I'm showing you guys this technique, because this is what I did back in the day and it was working really well for me. Yeah, which one? Let's say I'm not sure if it's a good example. Maybe this one. Maybe this one is sort of like similar. So if you like put your application like next, to be honest, I don't think this application looks really good. But if you put your application next to one of these, do you think, you know, it's sort of on the same level? Like, do you think on like professionally it's on the same level? And always try to be critical with yourself. Obviously, like don't blame yourself too much if you're not good enough just yet. It takes time for everyone. Like even for people who were creating these designs, for them it took like a lot of years to like get here, to get to this point. But just try to mimic what they already had done. And if you are sort of already on that level where you think it's like, it's kind of similar or it's not that far apart from these designs, then you're getting closer to that level, which is like already, yeah, it's like you can compete with those works on the market today. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry if that I cannot give you any like much better ideas on that.
No, that's
But yeah,
good.
just keep practicing, and even if you feel like you really want to create a new project, feel free and also like focus on the design. But the problem is that if you're focusing on like how to structure and basically like what to write about your designs, like even in this situation, you don't have that much screens here. What you could also do, like you can just kind of like do like a redesign for this as well, because probably the process which you would take can stay the same. And maybe you can just find some similar designs in Mobit or like in Dribbble or wherever you want to. And you can try to recreate your designs in a better shape or form. And maybe you don't even have to recreate a new project. You just have to recreate the design itself. Maybe that would be a good challenge, I guess. Let me see this. So I think that would be a nice. Oh, yeah, clean Figma, nice. Yeah. So maybe, I don't know, did you use any inspiration websites, or did you just, was like thinking about like, this would make sense here?
That's exactly what I did. I just sent it, yeah.
Okay. This can be a good approach once you have like a better design instinct. But that's why I say it's better to like start sort of mimicking other people, because at some point you're going to realize that what makes sense in design and what doesn't really make sense. And also it's important to use the law of like sort of like familiarity of designing, because I already can sense that it doesn't really feel like a sort of like a dashboard tool which I'm using generally, or like I have seen. And that's why it's important to, like, first of all, understand what, oh, that's nice though. So first of all, understand like what is like good design, and secondly, like try to mimic good design, because good design is also like familiar design, and familiar design is something which people are going to understand and people are going to know how to use subconsciously anyways. So these are the important things, because if you do something which is like quite different or like totally different from what people are used to, they won't feel good about using that application. That's why it's, we can complain that a lot of applications looks quite the same these days, which is definitely true. But on the other hand, if it wouldn't quite look the same, people would complain a lot about like, oh my God, I don't know how to use this application, or oh, it's so different, I'm not liking it. So yeah, this is my advice. Guys, I guess we are going over the 1 hour mark at the moment. Maybe one last question we can do here, but if not, maybe we can say goodbyes for today. How about that? No more question. All right. Guys, if you have like maybe you have your portfolio, you can just send it me in the group, and I can like quickly give you like a feedback on it, if you're up for it and if you want to hear for it. And also you can just message me in the group, because here, if you would message me on Instagram, probably I won't answer, because there are like a lot of people messaging me, which is nice, but I'm not really able to answer. But here in the group, since it's more like a private community, then here I have more time and energy to answer whatever problem you have, guys. So feel free. Okay, cool. All right, well, thank you very much for joining here today. Enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Yeah,
Thank you.
This recording will be on the group, so if you want to just come back and watch it back, then you can do it as well. Okay, let me just figure out how to turn off the recording. Stop recording.